Hello. Fancy meeting you here. Full disclosure, someone is a little bit hungover this morning, and I'm also going to a baby shower in less than 2 hours, so I am that person who shows up hungover to a baby shower. Speaking of poor choices, if I could start my Stargate Rewatch series over, I would force myself to select episodes like in chronological order rather than just at the mercy of my whims, because today I want to talk about season 3, episode 16, Urgo, and I've already talked about episodes from season 3 that are after this one. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to finish out season 3, just picking and choosing however I want. But then for my rewatch of season 4, I'm going to try my very, very best to force myself to select episodes in chronological order. I won't do all the episodes, but the ones that I pick, I will try very hard to keep them in order. So, okay, oh God, that's bright. Okay, all right, let's get started. The episode opens with this exchange of wordplay.
Appearances may be deceiving.
One man's ceiling is another man's floor.
A fool's paradise is a wise man's hell.
Never run with scissors?
Although, ironically, teal'c actually had a point. And if they had listened to him, the rest of this episode just never would have happened. The premise is that the Malp has seemingly found a tropical paradise, and SG-1, of course, wants to go check it out, just to see if it would be an adequate site for an off-world research base. Sure.
Colonel. I know, General. It's all fun and games until someone breaks a nail.
Once SG-1 has left the room, General Hammond cracks a little smile, sort of like he's thinking, oh, those crazy kids. Anyway, so SG-1 leaves and then comes right back to the gate room, but now sees soldiers with their guns drawn, and then this guy who looks really familiar, but I don't know what his name is supposed to be, like fussing with the Malp. I like this setup. It could lead to either wacky shenanigans or a slow decline into madness and horror as it's revealed piece by piece what's been done to them. And this episode is wacky shenanigans, but I think I would have also enjoyed like the slow decline into madness premise. Medically, SG-1 is fine, even though they can't account for all of that missing time. When reviewing the footage from the Malp, Sam notices that the footage from the second Malp that they sent through does not show the first Malp in the footage. It doesn't show any tracks, it doesn't show any evidence that the Malp was there, so this means that the footage was faked. But nobody else noticed this? In the 15 hours that SG-1 was gone, however long it was since they sent the second Malp and SG-1 actually came back through, in all of the time looking at that footage, no one else noticed this? No one else looked at it and was like, hey, where's the first Malp? We know Sam is a genius, but is she the only genius? Hidden in the footage is a single frame of video that shows some sort of research lab, which feels kind of sloppy on the aliens' part. They set this trap, but it just kind of said, it's good enough, which, I can relate. But even more bizarrely than the Malp footage is the fact that the workplace coffee is suddenly delicious. Workplace coffee is never delicious. It's why I used to bring a Keurig into the office.
Wow, this coffee's great.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, is that cinnamon?
It's chicory. Chicory.
teal'c also does an impression of me every morning. Man after my own heart. Hammond's just like, you weirdos need to stay on base. In the commissary, Jack eats a slice of pumpkin pie, which summons the rest of SG-1.
Hungry.
Yeah.
Try the pie.
But you know what? I feel like I always have some sort of sixth sense for when there are free desserts being consumed at work and then manage to like show up at exactly that place so I can also consume free desserts. So this part doesn't really seem that weird to me. Bonus shout out to Daniel's screensaver. My eye is also drawn to the poster behind Jack. It's hard to see the whole thing, but it says teamwork. It's also weird to me that the tables are already set, because that is not how cafeterias work. There's another poster on the wall that says dedicated. This cafeteria has like an amazing array of pre-made desserts and baked goods and cakes and whatnot. Like that is phenomenal. But SG-1 begins chowing down on the desserts, and like the coffee, these desserts taste amazing. We actually get kind of a weird line delivery from Richard Dean Anderson.
All I do know is I don't even like yogurt.
And I wonder if this was an ad lib or if it was supposed to be like a humorously dramatic moment, but the editing just didn't play into it properly. I mean, it could be both. All I do know is I don't even like yogurt. Ow. I don't know. That's how I feel like it probably should have gone. I might cut that. Please note the horrified expression on this woman's face. I mean, they did waste a lot of desserts. The one extra on the end looks at the camera. Dr. Fraser has made the discovery that all of SG-1 seems to have had these teeny tiny devices about the size of a pinhead implanted in the exact same place in all of their brains.
We determine what threat they pose.
Apparently all desserts on base are in grave danger.
I've also noticed that this episode, for some reason, has a lot of shots of Jack not saying anything. Like, he looks like he's gonna say something, and then he doesn't. When SG-1 is put into isolation, the boredom is enough to draw out an auditory and visual manifestation of the device in their heads.
Hello, hello, hello. Now you all say it.
Hello, Urgo.
Only they can see him, of course, and while he can't necessarily control them, he can make these subliminal suggestions of things for them to do. And he can also apparently read their thoughts.
So, what?
He gets confused. By the way, who is Mary Steenburgen?
Jack just thinks she's nice. Urgo is played by the late Dom DeLuise, a very prolific actor with a particular inclination towards voice acting. He's got, that phenomenal voice that he kind of does, like, different intonations of, even during this episode. I think we see, like, all of the DeLuises at some point during this series. In fact, just this episode has two. There's Dom, and then later you can also see Peter DeLuise, who is the director. Urgo, as a character, strikes that fine line between being funny and annoying.
Couldn't we go someplace else that's not here? Someplace, that's not here. Cree.
Obviously, Urgo is a liability here for SG-1, but it does kind of seem like a similar technology would potentially be useful for short-range telepathic communication on missions. Also, follow me on this thought exercise for a moment, but what if Urgo was hot? Like, what if instead of the hallucination of Dom DeLuise, sorry Dom, that they see someone who they find physically attractive? Like Jack sees Mary Steenburgen. I feel like they would be more likely than to want to keep the technology in their brain as opposed to like their desperate bid to get rid of it. I don't know. I feel like if I was this like weird alien technological manifestation, I would be more inclined to do that. If I had a sense of self-preservation, like that is what I would do. And we do see him like kind of change his appearance later, but that's just him changing to Peter DeLuise. He doesn't actually like look inside their brains to figure out who they would be most attracted to and then represent that person. You know? So Sam guesses that Urgo is essentially trying to learn things and garner new experiences through them.
Well, she got it, you got it. I'm here to learn. I'm here to experience your world.
So we've been tagged.
But the people who created him are going to want the information back at some point. And Urgo implies, well, he doesn't imply, he straight up says that his creators are very bad, very evil, and they will definitely 100% kill SG-1 in order to get the device out of their brains.
They're gonna kill you. They'll open your brains with a big giant can opener, and then they scoop me out with a big scoopy thing.
There is light reflecting off of my car. Amanda Tapping also has a comedy background, and I feel like we get a little glimpse of that with just her perfect comedic timing in this scene.
All right, look, Urgo, Major Carter would like to...
Janet, he's right here. Janet, as much as I appreciate it, please. Urgo, that is rude.
General Hammond also calls Janet Terrell.
Doctor, are we entirely sure that the members of SG-1 are... what's the word?
Considering that Urgo almost makes teal'c defibrillate himself, and he does make Sam spill steaming hot coffee on herself, they try to deactivate the device with an EM pulse. Also, how hot was that coffee supposed to be? Because I imagine that's dry ice in a cup, but oh my god, it is producing a lot of steam. As you can see...
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
Row, row, row your boat, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is
Merrily, 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 merrily.
It doesn't work. I think, and please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think this is the only time we ever see them sing. Like, SG-1 never caved to the popular trend of having a musical episode, which is a shame, because...
Go home, little girl, you don't belong with me. Go home, little girl, you're not in love with me. Go home, little girl, don't let the trouble brew.
Is there anything that man can't do? So they decide that the only option left is to confront Urgo's creator, who is very surprised to learn that they are actually aware of Urgo.
We discovered the devices you implanted in our brains, and we'd like you to remove them. Him. Urgo.
How do you know this name?
I forgot, but this is actually the episode with this scene.
He's driving us crazy.
A classic favorite by Jack Daniel shippers. SG-1 decides that it is worth the risk to their lives to go back to the planet and have Urgo removed. We also see a really interesting locker room. Like, it's less of a locker room and more of a hexagon with open closets. And I know we do see a traditional locker room later in the series, and I'm trying to remember. I think we also saw a more traditional locker room earlier in the series, so I don't know why in this episode they have the weird hexagon. In talking with Urgo, they discover that Urgo is actually afraid of his own death, which is why he was trying to keep them from going to the planet. It was less about concern for them and more about concern for himself.
He's gonna kill me. You heard him. Oh, you people, for crying out loud.
This indicates to Sam and Daniel that Urgo may technically be considered alive.
By definition, what constitutes a sentient life form?
Self-awareness, consciousness.
I'm me. No doubt about that.
Teal'c has no patience for Urgo.
And you are a parasite, like the Goa'uld.
A parasite, like a hole.
I had read that there were actually very few Teal'c Urgo interactions because Christopher Judge just could not keep a straight face with Dom DeLuise's ad-libbing. Jack calls him Hugo.
Now, we explained the situation to this toga guy, and we let him deal with Hugo once he's out of our heads. Urgo.
To me, it seems entirely plausible that this whole situation could be another one of Urgo's suggestions. And since those suggestions can really only work if you're already open to the idea, it only took hold in Sam and Daniel since they have that type of thinking. But that is why Jack and Teal'c were resistant to the idea. They meet Urgo's creator, Togar.
Togar! As handsome as he is evil.
Surprise! He looks like Urgo. We see this fun little creature. Which is delightful. I feel like we never get to see weird-looking alien animals in Stargate. We mostly just see, the symbiotes and bigger creatures like the Unas, which are pretty much just, a person in makeup and a costume. Also, why does Sam look green-screened into these shots? I'm pretty sure that it's just the lighting and it's creating a contrast between her and Jack, but she doesn't look like she's actually there. So they convince Togar not to kill Urgo.
Well, there has to be some way. You created it.
You'd be killing something that you gave life.
Dad.
By putting Urgo into Togar. Why Togar would agree to this, I do not know, but he does. They say that Urgo is everything that Togar's not, but that he wishes he was, and that Urgo goes out and experiences the things that Togar is too afraid to do himself. But I feel like this statement might have worked better if Urgo was played by a younger, more attractive, Dom DeLuise, and Togar was played by Dom DeLuise. But of course, if not played by Dom, then I feel like Urgo's over-the-top demeanor wouldn't have really worked as well, and it would just be a completely different character. Hey, here's my advice. Why don't you do this exact same story, but totally different? Then the transfer is complete. Togar does an I Dream of Jeannie blink, and SG-1 ends up back in the gate room with no memory of the past 10 hours.
Was the mission successful?
General, didn't we just...
I kind of thought it would be interesting if SG-1 ends up back in the gate room with no memory of anything that happened in this episode. It's kind of erased back to the first time when they stepped through the gate, and Jack was explaining the definition of chow. But I feel like, we kind of got right to the end here, and a twist like that would take a little bit longer to kind of explain what was happening. And you gotta leave it with, some kind of twist at the end. So they worked within the time that they had. This episode is a funny one. Both funny in the sense of it's very humorous, but also funny in the sense that it's a little bit odd. It feels kind of like a filler episode, which is fine because sometimes those are an opportunity to do like weird and different things or to cast your dad to play a character in the episode. But there's just something that's a little bit off, particularly with the editing. And I don't know if maybe there were some last minute changes to the script that made it hard to structure everything properly, or if everyone was just kind of ad-libbing a lot. It's hard to tell. Or they were just really busy that month. I can understand that. Sometimes you get busy, your work suffers, and your editing gets sloppy. Now I gotta go shower some babies.